get from your slide rule, and they were more complicated than you could get from a four-function calculator, you did things using tables. You would look up the logarithms of a pair of numbers, add them, and look up the analog of that, instead of doing a long-handed multiplication of large numbers. But then that raises the question, where did the table of logarithms come from? Okay? I mean, somebody had to compute them. And the somebody was typically, around the time Babbage started taking an interest in this sort of thing, rooms full of people acting as what we may feel as machines these days. So a logarithm, of course, is not a polynomial. Okay, how many know what a polynomial is before I get too far off track? Okay. Okay. So a polynomial is an equation of this form, where various multiples of various powers of the independent variable x here are added together for the result. A logarithm isn't that sort of an equation or a function, but it can be approximated by that sort of function over some range of inputs. Now, you need a relatively high-powered mathematician to figure out the right polynomial to approximate a given function. And then you need a decent mathematician to evaluate several successive values of that polynomial. And then, by something which those who want to stay after class can discuss further, called the method of finite differences, you can take the first n, where n is the power of the polynomial, or the degree of the polynomial, results, and come up with what's called a table of differences. And from that, you can hand out worksheets to a room full of people who only have to be good, conscientious people at addition, and you can create x plus 5, x plus 6, x plus 7, x plus 8, etc. And this is the way tables were being calculated before Babbage. He did not invent that. However, even good adders can make mistakes. Many people who did this had two teams working on the same table, would compare the results. If they were the same, they were probably good. But then there was a problem. The output of the room full of people would be handed in like handwritten pen to a typesetter who would pick individual little pieces of metal out of a tray into a compositing stick, either upside down or backwards, depending on personal preference, but not right side up and forwards. The type would be set, the book would be printed, and if you were lucky, it was proofread once. If not, maybe not. So Babbage and his friend, help me on this, Herschel, sorry, senior moment there, John Herschel, were among people who were concerned about this. And one of their pastimes was sitting around at night proofreading books of mathematical tables and getting ever more frustrated at the number of errors that they found. And Babbage is said to have cried, this is probably apocryphal, that he wished that these could be computed by steam. And I'll tell you, steam was probably a metaphor, like the cloud is a metaphor today. What he meant, since steam was the defining metaphor of the industrial age, he wished they could be computed mechanically. Not only computed, but printed or typeset mechanically.